Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast State of the Balance with me, your host, Imperial Dane, master of all that is true and factual. And of course, looking at the State of the Balance for November 2018, only 1 month to go in the year's old. So also looking at a lot of stuff happening here. There'll be a news video out about tomorrow about the use of tech revamp, but also when the Commando will be hitting. Hint, it's relatively soon-ish. So anyways, how's the state sort of, or the balance sort of matured or changed over the last month? Well, overall, not a lot has really as such changed. The only thing sort of reading every time got in terms of knowledge from Relic in terms of how things are looking sort of there is on, apparently on paper, the Americans are not doing too hot. So they're apparently, changing the tech again. There'll be a video specifically on that. So, but beyond that, there's not really as such been any grand meta changes. I mean, really, for the Soviets, get a lot of guardsmen, get T-35s, maybe an IS-2 tends to be a lot way, but overall, penal troopers, guardsmen, particularly 2 vs 2s, lots of penal troopers, lots of guardsmen. Maximus has also been slightly making a return there. And a few players, I guess, are going for like double T-70s, maybe some SM-6s, but for the most part, it's still lots of guardsmen, and certainly the argument could be to them maybe turning down the guardsmen just a bit. For the Americans, again, tech revamp changes are inbound, so I guess there's not much I'll say there, though the American metagame, for the most part, remains the same. Get a lot of riflemen, take out fast into an anti-aircraft half-track, or maybe go for double pack cards and just blast your opponent to bits if you're in a 2 vs 2 game. Stewards can also happen, but otherwise it's very much the same game. Either go for a lot of Shermans and Jacksons, well, mostly Jacksons, maybe a Sherman or 2, or, stall for Pershing. Pershing stalling is very much popular. The Scots, while briefly popular, seem to have slightly sort of gone off again, receding a bit like, cold front in the summer. So, a bit harder to say anything about what could further happen there, to be honest, but I'm guessing that's not going to change. They could probably, once the Commander revamp, or the tech revamp goes out at some point, there'll probably be some bigger shifts there, but for now, the American metagame seems very much sort of settled. As for the Brits, kind of like the Surge, largely the same game, get lost sections, universe carry out, either upgrade to the Wasp or the Vickers K, and just, roll at your opponent. Bolster sections, and tend not to go for Bren guns, because bolstering is just so good. I definitely feel like they need to lower down the infantry sections' received accuracy. Like, they just tend to blob up a lot and just run about in the open. Like, I feel like they just made the infantry section too blobbable, which is just not, I would say, good. And also just rather make the Bren gun, once they nerfed it, even, less use, because you don't really need it. It was kind of more like gravy, additional gravy on top of an already overloaded gravy train. So the argument could be there again to slightly lower something there, but beyond that, I mean, the Brits tend to be very much focused around getting commanders out. Mobile assault still tend to be one of the more popular one, or doctrines with the crocodile. I mean, it's very much the same there, really. There's not been any massive changes. The British meta is also just very much settled, so not really a lot happening there. Again, I just wish they'd turn down some of the Brit blobbing, since that's not really fun to deal with, particularly when you already got the Universal Care, which is basically a light tank, except it doesn't cost fuel. So, there's that. As for the Germans, we could start with the Oberkommando West. Similarly, not a lot is changing. I still feel like they need to tone down the Volksgrenadiers and the received accuracy bonus. The Volksgrenadiers are just, I feel like, in a lot of cases, too efficient infantry, unless they get met by even more efficient infantry, like the Guards Riflemen. Like, that's kind of the problem, when even more busted infantry is required to stop the Volksgrenadiers in a lot of cases. So, I feel like they need to be toned down, and maybe, like, shift some strength elsewhere within the Oberkommando West, and probably tone down some of the experience requirements on a lot of Oberkommando West units like the Kubelwagen, which is just, it's ludicrous. Similarly with the King Tiger, they have ridiculous veterancy requirements. Like, that could probably doing something they could really stand and tone down upon there. But otherwise, for the Oberkommando West, rush out a Lux or rush out a flak half track, get some infantry out, usually lots of Volksgrenadiers, roll the enemy. And if that fails, you just completely fall apart, usually. I mean, Panthers and Panzer IV see some uses, though Panzer IVs are more common, though some will go for Panthers depending on the situation. And Spec Ops is very much popular. They really need to look into the Command Panther. It's just easy to just, call it in, really. I'm not entirely sure how to do it. I mean, one would just require you to have tech, but even then, it would still, get used more than the regular Panther. I mean, honestly, just feel like they need to nerf its stats. I mean, just, you know, DPS wise, so it's not quite, you know, as good as a regular Panther. And so you have to sort of make some more trade-offs and considerations before you go for the Command Panther. Because right now, you're just calling in a better Panther at a slightly higher cost without having to tech for it. It's getting a bit tiresome to deal with. So that's certainly something I feel that needs to be looked into there by Relic on the Oberkommando side of things. Some will go for Luftwaffe and all that, but again, it's very much heavily centered around Spec Ops at the moment. So I think Spec Ops needs to be nerfed before we can maybe sort of look at other things. Maybe buff some other few things just in anticipation, but even then I don't think that's necessary. And again, nerf the false grenadiers. So I think that sort of all covers the Oberkommando. As for the Wehrmacht, it's a bit here and there. Lightning War, basically anything with G43s and Tigers tend to be, you know, reasonably popular. Well, either of the two. And, you know, there'll be some variety. 2-2s are getting more popular, so, you know, counter enemy tactics and pressure them. But otherwise, you know, either they'll rush out a Sturmpanzer 4, or they'll, you know, rush out a Flamethrower tank, then rush for a Sturmpanzer 4. Others will go for Panther 4 Stugs. Some will go for Panthers, depending on the situation. But there's not really as such been a lot of changes. I think in this regard it's going to be interesting to see how the Commander revamp is going to affect a lot of it. In particular, I think there's going to be a lot more of the new German infantry doctrine, to put it mildly, since I think it's going to offer a lot there. And who knows, that might even make things a bit too good there. But we'll see what happens there with the Wehrmacht. But for now, I don't think it's suggesting much to change there with the upcoming Commander revamp. So we'll see how exactly it goes from there. But I mean, there is some variety from the Wehrmacht meta. There are some things you have to look out for. Again, they can go for 2-2s, they can go for Flamethrower half tracks, some will go for snipers. I mean, in this regard, the Wehrmacht to an extent does feel like it's in a healthy spot, though personally I do feel like they're still not a very good late game faction, despite that's sort of the idea of them. They tend not to perform well, and you still have to play them very aggressively, pressure your opponent, otherwise you risk getting crushed in the late game. So that's sort of my opinion there. But beyond that, not much else. Again, we got the Commander revamp happening soon. Again, there'll be a slight video about that tomorrow, alongside some talk about the USF tech revamp. So again, lots of stuff happening here for the companies too, as always. Again, there's been a lot happening here in the last half a year, and that's certainly amazing. So let's hope it keeps up, shall we? Until then, this has been your host, Imperial Dane. Hopefully you learned something from this. Hopefully it gives you ideas. And if you didn't, subscribe, like, share, comment. And if you like what we do, you can donate or pledge on Patreon. Links are in the video description. I'm off for now. We're back tomorrow with more exciting videos. Cheers.